Good afternoon, colleagues. Our presentations will be on speech and language disorders. My name is Lineker May, and my group members are Antoine Williams, Trisha White, and Courtney Clark. Okay, so objectives are at the end of this presentation, students will be able to define speech and language disorder, types of speech and language disorder, causes of speech and language disorder, its impact on education, strategies for addressing speech and language disorders. I'll pass on to my colleague, Antoine Williams.
All right. So, communication disorder. A communication disorder in special education refers to a condition that affects a child's ability to comprehend, detect, express, or use verbal, nonverbal, or written language effectively. These difficulties can interfere with a child's learning, academic performance, and social interactions, making specified instruction and support essential. Communication disorders encompass challenges in speech, how sounds and words are produced, and language, understanding and using words or sentences meaningfully. They may occur alone or alongside other developmental or learning disabilities, such as autism or intellectual disability. Now, speech and language disorder. Speech and language disorders are conditions that hinder effective communication, impacting millions worldwide. These disorders can range from mild to severe, affecting how individuals produce speech, sounds, form sentences, understand others, and express thoughts. Speech disorders focus on challenges with sounds, voice, and fluency, while language disorders are associated with issues in comprehension and expression, often in spoken or written form. Understanding the differences between these disorders is essential, as each requires unique therapeutic approaches. Now, characteristics of speech disorder and language disorder. Speech and language disorders are associated with a range of physical, cognitive, and behavioral characteristics that vary depending on the specific type and severity of the disorder. Recognizing these traits is essential for providing appropriate support and understanding the impact of on the individual's daily life. Now, some physical traits. But before I get into this explanation, as you can see in this picture, it's showing that this boy has a short nose, thin upper lip, and a flat mid face. Now, physical characteristics often seen in individuals with speech and language disorders include motor difficulties that affect the muscles involved in speech production, as I said earlier about the thin upper lip and the flat mid face. For example, people with dysarthria experience loud or weak speech due to muscle weakness impacting the lips, tongue, and jaw. Disorders like apraxia of speech involve planning and coordinating the fine motor movements needed for speech, leading to inconsistent pronunciation or misarticulation. Now, some cognitive traits. Cognitive characteristics often include challenges with language processing, which can hinder understanding and using language effectively. In receptive language disorders, individuals may have difficulties comprehending vocabulary, sentence structures, and multi-step directions. Memory and attention problems are also common, as speech and language disorders can affect short-term memory, which is crucial for retaining new words and following complex instruction. As we can see here in this picture, where reduced judgments, comprise intellectual functioning, decreased focus and attention, and memory problems is common cognitive impairments. Now some behavioral traits. Behavioral traits related to speech and language disorders often include social withdrawal and avoidance behaviors. As you can see in this picture here on the left, this little girl is taking a therapy lesson with her therapist. As you can see, she's holding her head, meaning that she's facing some social anxiety of the sort, which may be due to anxiety and self-consciousness around communication challenges. Some individuals may avoid social interactions leading to isolation. These difficulties can also cause frustration, especially in young children. Once again, we can see this young lady on the side on the left, who may express it through emotional outbursts or tantrums. In other words, frustration may manifest as emotional distress, often resulting in feelings of inadequacy or depression. I'll now turn over to my colleague.
Types of speech and language disorders. Articulation disorder. So basically this is when you find difficulty in producing specific sounds correctly, leading to unclear speech. This can include substitution of words, like calling another word instead of calling the correct word, like, for example, your pronunciation is off. Instead of saying rabbit, you say wabbit. And fluency disorder involves interruption in the flow of your speech, such as stuttering, gluttering, or in Jamaican terms, we would say stammer, which can affect communication and confidence. Voice disorder, abnormalities in pitch, volume, or quality of voice that may result from physical issues like nodules or neurological conditions. Language disorder, difficulty in understanding or using language effectively. This can include problems with your vocabulary. Social communication disorders, challenging in using verbal and nonverbal communication in a social settings, impacting the ability to engage in conversation or understand social cues. So basically, this is trying to say when you're communicating socially, it can affect our communication. It can affect the effectiveness of communication. Apraxia of speech, motor speech disorder, where individuals have difficulty planning or coordinating the movement needed for speech, often resulting in inconsistent speech errors. So this means that sometimes your speech might on and sometimes it might off, and when it's off, it's slightly inconsistent. Dysarthria, a condition caused by muscle weakness affecting the ability to speak clearly. It can result from neurological conditions and may affect the clarity and strength of your speech. Cognitive communication disorder. These affect a person's ability to communicate due to difficult in cognitive processes like attention, memory, and problem-solving skills. Receptive language disorder, difficulty in understanding spoken or written language. Individuals may struggle to follow directions, comprehend questions or understand conversation. For example, a child might struggle to follow multiple steps, directions, such as please take out your book, turn your page to 10, and read the first paragraph. They may only understand parts of the instruction or none at all in scenarios like this. Expressive language disorder, this is where it challenges in conveying thoughts, ideas, or feelings through spoken or written language. This can include limited vocabulary, difficulty forming sentences, or using inappropriate grammar. So basically, this this show off the way how you express yourself in writing on paper or speaking verbally. Example, misuse of tense or word or the example saying he run fast instead of. Next slide. Instead of he ran fast. All right, so mixed receptive expression language disorder. This is basically a combination of both receptive and expressive language challenges, where the individual has difficulty both understanding and using the language. So this is where you cannot produce the language properly and you lack the ability to understand what someone is saying to you. Example, a child has trouble following instruction and also forms incomplete or grammatical incorrect sentences. Language-based learning disabilities. Language difficulties that affect academic skills such as reading, writing, and spelling. Example, a child has trouble understanding words, problems in math, or following written instructions. Causes of speech and language disorder. So basically, this can arise from genetic and developmental factors. Hereditary influence, a family history of speech or language issue can increase the likelihood of child experiencing similar problems. So basically, this is a genetics thing where if I am stammer, my son might be stammer. If I stutter, my son can be stutter. If my son get most of my genetics instead of the mother's genetics. Developmental delays. Children with delay milestone, example, walking or speaking, may develop speech and language difficulties. Neurological causes. Cerebral palsy. Motor control is to make it difficult for children to form sound properly. Brain injury or strokes can cause acquired language disorder like aphasia, disrupting previously learned communication skills. Auditory processing disorder, APD, children struggle to process sounds, leading to difficulties in understanding when someone is speaking a spoken language. Hearing loss, hearing impairment of deafness, either cognition, what's that? Oh, congenital or acquired, interferes with the development of speech and language. Children with untreated ear infection, example, chronic otitis media, may also experience speech delays due to inconsistent hearing. Environmental and social factors. This can lead to neglect and abuse, whereas children from neglectful environments may have limited exposure to language-rich interaction, resulting in delayed language development. Limited exposure to language, lack of verbal interaction at home, example, minimal storytelling, conversation, or reading can impede language. So basically, the parents need to get more involved at home to help them to help the language them speaking the language to be more effective. Structural or physical impairment, cleft palate or lip. Structural abnormalities in the mouth can impair speech production. This is basically saying like sometimes when your tongue is heavy, that's how they used to say tongue is heavy, it can delay or you speak. Oral motor dysfunction, weakness in the muscle used for speaking can lead to articulation issues. Next slide.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. May, and my previous presenter, Anthony Williams. As mentioned before, my name is Corny Clark, and I'm looking at the prevalence of speech and language disorder in special education. Now, speech and language disorder are among the most common disabilities served by special education programs. Below are key statistics about their prevalence. Number one, general prevalence. According to the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, CDC, about 1 in every 12 children, which is roughly 8%, aged 3 to 17 years in the US have a speech and or language disorder. So, second, prevalence in special education. The Individuals with Disabilities Education Acts, which is also the IDEA, reported that around 15 to 20% of children in special education programs receive service for speech or language impairments. This makes it one of the most frequently served disabilities. So as we can see, it mainly affects, or it is common in young children. Third, the age-related trends. Speech disorders such as articulation disorder are more common in preschool age children, often improving with age and intervention. Language disorders, for example, receptive and expressive language challenges tend to persist longer, especially if associated with other developmental disabilities like autism or intellectual disabilities. Number four, the co-occurrence with other disabilities. So, autism spectrum disorder, up to 50 to 70% of children with autism have communication difficulties. Also, hearing loss, about 40% of children with hearing impairments show significant language delays. Learning disabilities. These disabilities, language-based learning disorders such as dyslexia are highly prevalent among students with special education needs. Next slide, please. The next slide will include a short video.
Hello and welcome to Teachings in Education. I'm your narrator, Frank Avella. Speech and language impairments, a category of students with disabilities. Here we will cover a number of different topics, but let's begin with its definition. Speech-language impairment is described as a communication disorder such as stuttering, impaired articulation, a language impairment, or voice impairment that adversely affects a child's educational performance, defined by the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act.
As mentioned before.
Next, let's take a look at its characteristics. It can first be characterized by speech impairments, which include three types: articulation, fluency, and voice disorders. Second, it's characterized by language impairments, involving semantics and more. Speech impairments most commonly include stuttering and cluttering. Language impairments occur in areas of phonological, morphological, semantic disorders, syntactical deficits, and pragmatic difficulties. Now, let's take a look at how prevalent the disability is among students classified as having a disability. According to a recent study, speech-language impairments make up about 19 to 20% of students receiving special education services. Next, it's time to look at some of the causes of speech and language impairments. Common causes of this impairment occur from both cleft lips and palate. There are many other possible causes such as intellectual disabilities, neurological issues, brain injury, hearing loss, drug abuses, and sometimes the causes are actually unknown. The next topic of the presentation covers some of the challenges these students will face. These children may have difficulties expressing themselves, and therefore they don't feel confident speaking up in the classroom, and they do not participate much in discussions. These students are often quiet and shy, and unfortunately, they are frequently targets of bullying. They don't speak up for themselves.
They have a low self-esteem.
Real quick, I want to take a break and ask that you hit that subscribe button, hit the thumbs up button.
You become shy.
Also, check the description for resources below as well. Assistive technology for speech or language impaired children usually starts with computer software programs that are designed to improve the child's speech or language ability. Other examples of assistive technology include augmentative or alternative communication devices, AAC devices. And now we come upon the last section of the presentation, which is teacher tips. One of the things teachers can do to improve the speech and language ability is to insert oral presentations into their lesson plans and classroom. Place students in groups, allow them to have meaningful discussions with their peers. Provide students with the opportunities to read aloud in the classroom. However, teachers should not put these children in a position where they're going to be embarrassed.
So
teachers must keep an eye out for that. Right now, I want to say thank you for your time. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel, hit the thumbs up button, and share the presentation. Check the description for links to resources below as well.
So yes, as Mr. Clark was just saying, teacher, as you can see here, tips for teachers. Teacher is very important in terms of providing catering for the children with special needs and disorders. Very, very important.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. All right, to continue from where I left off, some key terms in speech and language disorder. Articulation disorder. Difficulty producing speech sounds correctly. For example, a child saying wabbit instead of saying rabbit, as was mentioned before by Mr. May. As you can see, these terms were already mentioned because they're common terms. That's why it's key terms. Second, fluency disorder. Disruption in the flow of speech, like stuttering. Me myself, I always stutter. Like sometimes when I'm talking too fast, like my friends may find it difficult to hear what I'm saying. So these disorders are common. Sometimes I don't even realize that we have this disorder. But yes, I am also one of these person with this disorder. Teenager repeat sounds are syllables saying sandwich. Aphexia. Loss of language ability due to brain injury. So we are seeing that accident can also be a cause. For example, a stroke patient struggling to find words and form sentence because of the damage to the brain, they lose memory and it start to affect how they speech and how they articulate themselves. Fourth, apraxia of speech, difficulty with motor planning for speech, not caused by muscle weakness. For example, an adult say potato instead of saying potato despite knowing the correct word. So repeat myself, an adult saying potato instead of saying potato despite knowing the correct word. So even though the adult know the correct word, they're still saying the wrong word. Dyslexia. Slurred or slow speech due to muscle weakness or neurological condition. For example, someone with Parkinson speech softly and unclearly. So for example, if a friend And whenever you're talking to that friend, he or she is always talking softly. That is also a cause of speech and language disorder. Next slide, please. Deceptive language disorder. Difficulty understanding spoken language. For example, a child cannot follow direction in class, even though they are simple. So even they tell me to do to count from 1 to 10, I still have it hard to do that simple task. That is also an example. Also, expressive language disorder. Difficulty expressing thoughts and ideas clearly. For example, a child has trouble forming sentence to answer a question. So some miss may give me a task and I am always trained from the answer. So I'm talking like 3 things in one, 3 different sentences. That's also an example. Augmentative and alternative communication, also known as AAC. Use of tools to aid communication, from gestures to device. A non-verbal child uses a tablet with symbol to communicate. Yeah, so the phone can be used as well as tablet, as mentioned here. And also pragmatic language disorder. Challenges with social language use, like understanding conversational norms. For example, a person interrupts or talk off topic frequently in a conversation. So I'm talking to Antoine about animals, and he's talking about something different. So that is also food for thought to pay consideration. The next slide, please.
All right, so just to interject, if you already noticed before, like our group is actually special because we actually have 2 special people in our group. The first one was Courtney, as he highlighted himself earlier, and yes, I'm the second one that's special. That also has the same speech disorder. Yes. Continue.
All right, thank you, Mr. Antoine, because the class would have already realized that quiz was special, okay? So that's good. This slide, impact of speech and language disorder and learning. Academic challenges. So firstly, we have reading and writing difficulties. Language disorders can interfere with phonological awareness, decoding skill necessary for reading, and written expression. For example, a child with receptive language difficulties may struggle to understand instructions or word problem in maths. Limited vocabulary. Children with expressive language disorder often have a smaller vocabulary, making it hard for them to understand new concepts and express their thoughts clearly. So because of lack of word in their vocabulary, they are using some simple word, like you're in college and you're using grade 1 level or grade 2 level word to perform a sentence. Difficulty following instruction and participating in lesson. Children with receptive language disorder may have trouble following multi-step instruction or understanding abstract content, showing their learning progress. They may also struggle with classroom routine, requiring repeat prompts or individual support. So one good scenario, you can always have someone who's stronger to assist that student so they don't fall behind in the lesson. Next slide, please. Social and emotional impact. Firstly, limited communication skills. Poor communication can lead to isolation and difficulty forming friendship. So because you can't really talk properly like myself, sometimes I don't want to talk to anyone. I just withdraw myself from society. I don't become social. So I put on my phone and in one corner. I don't want to talk because I may say that he can talk well, you know, frustration and behavioral issues. Children may act out due to frustration from not being able to communicate effectively, leading to behavioral challenges in the classroom. Low self-esteem. Repeated academic or social failures can result in a child feeling inadequate or anxious about school participation. So, a continuous low strings of grade will make you feel anxious about school, or I feel like you're not good enough for this, or this is bigger than you. So it make you have a low self-esteem. Impact on cognitive skills, critical thinking and problem solving. Children with language disorders may struggle with sequencing events, comparing concepts, or organizing thoughts. So you lack critical thinking skills. You can't think critically, like to think in a scenario. I can't do that well. Memory issues. Trouble with understanding language can impair working memory, making it hard to retain and apply new information. So, as mentioned before, it affects the mind. So, the loss of memory, they can't really recall on things you might have learned before. So, you always having difficulty to recall information. So, you lack prior knowledge. Next slide, please. Ms. White will continue.
Thank you, Courtney Clark. I am Trisha White, and I'll be doing the strategies for addressing speech and language disorders in the classroom. Classroom accommodations and modification. First is simplify instructions. Break down instructions into smaller steps and provide them one at a time. Use both verbal and visual clues. For example, pictures, written directions. Extra time. Give children more time to proceed, question, and respond, reducing pressure. So, for example, in a classroom setting, a teacher asks a question to the class, like, for example, what is the capital of France? Instead of expecting immediate response from all students, they will be given time to think about the answer. So this will help students to think and respond at their own pace. Secondly, peer support and social skills training. Peer students for group work. Assign buddies or partners to facilitate peer interaction, improving both academic collaboration and social skills. So by peering a student who may struggle with a particular task, right? With a peer who has a strength in that area. Both students can learn from each other's, build positive relationships, and practice social interactions in a supportive environment. For example, a student who struggles with reading comprehension might be paired with a more confident reader to help. Secondly, social skills groups. Social skills groups offer small group sessions to practice turn-taking, conversation skills, and nonverbal communication. For example, eye contact, body language. Next slide, please. So you have positive reinforcement and behavioral support. Use praise and rewards to reinforce participation and communication attempts, even if responses are not perfect. So for example, you will use praises like great effort, good job, I can see you are really trying to communicate your point. Give them some motivational talk to motivate them to answer question even if it doesn't right. Then you have implemented visual behavior charts or token system to encourage positive communication efforts. Incorporating multisensory learning, like hands-on activity, uses kinesthetic activity, for example, building blocks and manipulatives to reinforce language and academic concepts. Then you have technology tools, utilize apps and games that target specific language skills such as vocabulary development and reading. Educational implications. Speech and language disabilities impact learning by limiting students' ability to communicate, comprehend instructions, and socially engage, which are essential to educational success. Articulations and fluency issues often lead to low self-esteem and reduced participations, while receptive and expressive language disorder make following instruction and expressing ideas challenging, further isolating students. Effective strategy include using visual aids, argumentative communication tools, and simplified language, which helps support understanding and expression. Educating peers about communication disorder promotes empathy, creating an inclusive environment where students with disabilities feel supported and can participate more fully. So this will play in a video shortly.
Where are you guys off to today?
We're going shopping. Jack needs some new shoes.
You going to get some new shoes, Jack?
I'm playing beer songs.
Really? What did he say?
He wants to know if you're coming with us.
No, can't come today.
Why don't you tell Peter that?
I've got to go home. I can't come with you today.
How could this have gone better?
Hi guys, where are you off to today?
We are going to buy some shoes.
What was that?
We are going to buy some shoes.
Oh, I see you got your communication book there. Can you show me? Oh, shoes. You're going to buy shoes. Great.
Yeah.
What about you, Peter?
Yeah.
What was that? Oh, I see you got your communication device there. Can you show me how it works?
Yeah.
Oh, you'd like me to come too?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I have to pick the kids
We
up
want to
from
apologize
school.
for technical difficulties, but this
What was
video is
that?
basically explaining
Do you mind if Maddie repeats
the
it?
young lady entered
He
the
says see you
space
soon.
that they
Okay,
were
see
in.
you.
Did you know that this time
And she
Sandy
was
spoke directly to
asking,
the people with a disability
the
in a
lady,
normal voice?
questions
When she couldn't understand, she asked for a
about,
repetition,
where they were
then for a
going.
communication book or a
Instead of
communication aid,
asking
in this case an
person
iPad. If she needed someone to
disabilities,
interpret, she asked first.
what they think or where they were going. And the guy on the wheelchair used the tablet to communicate with the lady. That is one tool that was mentioned before in the presentation, if you are paying attention. So instead of asking the moderator to talk for them, even though they have disabilities, they can still talk in their own unique way. That's basically what the video is about. Sorry for the misunderstanding or for the errors. The link to this video will be sent to the group or will be sent to me as well. Thank you. Next slide, please.
Okay, so thank you, Courtney Clark, for that. So in summary, just a sum up everything. So in conclusion, speech and language disorders profoundly impact millions of people, affecting their educational, social, and professional lives. Early intervention, effective therapy, and supportive environment are crucial to improve outcomes. Raising awareness about these disorders helps reduce stigma and foster a more inclusive society. Let us all play a role in supporting individuals with speech and language challenges, advocating for better resources, and promoting research advancements. So as we come to the end of our presentation, so these are our references. Thank you for listening.